Welcome to the Yellow Spider Media Business Spotlight podcast, a chance for business owners to discuss what they do and what makes them special. Today's guest is Dave Thompson, Chief Executive of the Warrington Disability Partnership. Hi Dave, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, you're welcome, John. Thank you. Good to see you.
You are the Chief Executive of the Warrington Disability Partnership. Now, normally at this stage of a podcast, I would just ask my guest to explain a little bit about what they do. With this episode, in your case, your story of how you got to where you are now is quite frankly incredible, very inspiring. So I think it would be nice if I don't say anything and we let you tell your story, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Dave Thompson. I'm one of the founder members of the Warrington Disability Partnership, and I have the honour today of being the Chief Executive of an absolute great charity. Got an amazing team of people. They've come together over the last 30 years to create something that's really special, and the work that we do actually extends outside of Warrington. But back to the question you asked me about, where did my journey begin? It began on the 2nd of July 1989. I was a businessman, joint owner of a business in the Warrington Town Centre. We were doing really well. We signed our lease on a second retail shop in St Helens, and we had plans to open several more in the coming years. And on the Sunday, I was playing my favourite sport at the time, American football, for the Warrington Scorpions, and we were second in the league, and the team we were playing, Merseyside Centurions, were the top of the league. And it was a really brutal game. It was a top of the table clash. And sadly, I broke my neck in a tackle. I dislocated C345 and had problems up to C2, which left me with tetraplegia. And the reality of actually what had happened and the severity of what would life be like after, it took its toll. It took its toll not on just me, but the family, the kids, my wife, friends, and also my friends who played American football with me, because actually it's quite interesting how quickly they sort of distance themselves, because it becomes a reality it could happen to them. So your friendship circle diminishes very, very quickly. But trying to pick yourself back up again, it was very hard. Not being able to fasten your own shoelaces, not being able to dress yourself, not being able to go to the toilet yourself, needing assistance from nurses to go to the toilet. The bowels didn't work properly, bladder didn't work properly, having incontinence issues at the age of 31, embarrassment. Very, very dark. Sleeping, eating, toileting in a bedroom in your dining room was not sort of what I'd planned at the age of 31. Not having a proper relationship with my wife, and not having a proper relationship with the kids, to be honest. It was really hard times. But going to a day centre for young disabled people, I started to realise that there was other people a lot worse off than I was. There was things that they could do, and I learnt to do. But during that time, we had several times when I had problems going back to the South Coast Managers Unit for tests and coming back very disappointed, thinking we were going to get some improvement. We didn't. And the reality hit, and I went into a deep depression, and even at one stage, well, twice, attempted suicide and tried to commit suicide twice. Couldn't even do that, so that made me even worse. But the second time, and my wife found out what I was doing. She even sort of offered to get the bottle of whiskey or vodka, I can't remember what it was at the time, and the tablets, and said, well, do it, I'll watch you, and then I'll ring the ambulance, and you can explain to the kids tomorrow morning why you've done what you've done again.
Wow.
So that was very, very powerful stuff. And it was that talk. And we talked. And every time I came up with negative, she came up with positive. Every time I came up with, well, I couldn't do this, she said, well, you can do that. And she got me to that way of thinking, that it's not really what you can't do in life that really matters. It's what you can do. And it's then that I started going back to the day centre with a different vision on life, meeting two other guys, Eric and Alan. And we formed what is today's Warrington Disability Partnership.
And what did that involve?
I think the staff at the day centre thought it was a bit of therapy. We didn't actually have a master plan. We didn't have a sort of strategic plan, as you would call it there, or business plan. We seemed to sort of find our way of where there was gaps, and we knew there was a gap for information for disabled people. I was at college at the time doing a couple of days on a social work course, and one of the papers I wrote was Information, the Key to Independence. And that got picked up, and the next thing is it's shared in the Department of Health. They shared it with sort of a group in Europe. And I was asked to join a working group to go to Europe and end up to 48 European locations looking at rehabilitation for disabled people. And it was amazing. It was all voluntary, but it was an amazing time. So yeah, that was the foundations. But going through those dark days of not being able to dress yourself, go to the toilet, not being able to drive anymore. It was despair. It was, wicker work, flower arranging and basket weaving at the day centre was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It was desperate times.
Well, I can only begin to imagine what that could be like, but I guess you're lucky that you had a wonderful woman by your side that helped you through it.
Yeah, she's strong.
So what does the Warrington Disability Partnership look like today?
Warrington Disability Partnership is a user-led charity, mainly disabled people out of our 48 paid staff and 230 volunteers. Most of us are disabled people, and we develop and deliver services for disabled people, but not just for disabled people, but also employers who've got issues to do with trying to find reasonable adjustments for their staff, local authority, NHS, trying to make sure they're planning their buildings and their accessibility. We've done lots of work in Warrington and beyond around accessibility. We've even got a ramp that we advised on the Falkland Islands in the Stanley Post Office. The internet's a wonderful thing. So the charity delivers 27 mobility and independent living services like employment services, independent living services, a shop mobility scheme in the town centre. We set up a business arm of the charity called the Disability Trading Company, which has 6 retail outlets. And that in itself turns over just over £1 million a year under normal times, not COVID times, of course. And the profit from that goes back to the charity to supplement what we do at the charity.
And you also created Disability Awareness Day, didn't you?
It was all down to a guy called Nick White, who was the park ranger at Walton Gardens at the time. We'd done some work around accessibility, and Nick and I have been talking about some money that was left over, and we then started talking about developing a day of celebration for disabled people, like a carnival really for disability. And we came up with the title of Disability Awareness Day. And as I say, the rest is history. We thought it was going to be a one-off day, a couple of £1,000, 50 charities got together, local authority and NHS got together, promoting what was available. And it was a huge success. We just hit on something that people wanted and liked. And year on year on year, it developed. And last year would have been our 29th live annual event, but naturally COVID stopped us from doing it live. But we got together with another charity in Warrington called Forward Futures, and Phil and his team helped us create an online version of DAD, Disability Awareness Day. The event now attracts over 250 exhibitors each year, usually 25 to 28,000 visitors. It's an amazing, it's like a mecca people just come to from all over the UK and Europe. And we've been very, very fortunate that the internet has allowed us to share what we do at DAD with other countries, and it's now run in 10 other countries. A small group in the middle of the jungle in Cameroon called Closing the Gap, run by a young guy called Tang, and he runs Disability Awareness Day Cameroon. Uganda, we've got Disability Awareness Day in Uganda, and also in India and all over Europe. It's just amazing how sort of the internet allows you to share what we do and how people can actually sort of pick up on those themes.
So it's extraordinary that the work you've done is now making waves across the planet.
It is, and there's another big project that we do, which is probably one of those ones that we don't sort of shine a light on. Over the last 3.5 years, we've donated £850,000 worth of refurbished mobility and independent living equipment, been sent abroad to Egypt, Sudan, Thailand. We've got a big container sort of shipment ready for Hungary. 24 park containers go to Syrian refugees. Some went straight into sort of Syria itself, and others have gone to where the Syrian refugees are in Greece and Turkey. So we're very, very proud of that, because when you see the photographs coming back and the way that it's changed somebody's life abroad, and this is equipment that would have yesteryear gone into a skip, and it's created jobs, sustainable jobs for disabled people who are doing the refurbishing, and it's actually sort of giving it a second life in another country. So yeah, we're very, very proud of the Phoenix project and our partners, St Mark Universal Care.
Back to the consultation and training side of things, that must be rewarding.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found has helped me come to terms with the difficulties I've had is to share the story like we're doing today. I was very, very fortunate in the early days when I was at college to be asked by my lecturers, would I go and lecture on disability to other courses. So over the last 25, 26 years, probably a little bit more now, 27 years, I've presented lectures and talks to over 60,000 people. And only yesterday I was working with United Utilities, working with 12 of their managers around providing them with advice on reasonable adjustments. So yeah, I get a lot from that. I get a lot of satisfaction from hearing people say, Dave, I've never considered what you've been talking about today. Really give me an insight into the world of disability. And often they can actually then sort of use those tools that I've given them to help other disabled people. And if it helps them help the staff and help them, maintain a happy and health and well-being in the workplace, that's great.
I actually find it strange that it's still a new concept to some people, something they've not considered before or even taboo.
I use one of my own experiences going back to Chester Zoo when my children were really sort of small. I remember my son was only about 6 at the time, and I was able-bodied at the time, walking around, of course. And my son asked a very awkward question about a guy with cerebral palsy who had calipers and 2 walking sticks, and I was embarrassed for the guy, and I literally sort of pulled my son away and stopped him from asking any questions. And I use that now because I turn it round, and if I see a child look at me now, I'll speak. I say, hello, you okay? And it's quite surprising how some parents will pull the child away like I did. But more often now, the parent will actually say, oh, okay, carry on talking. And it's surprising how, that breaks ice. And I think, part of my mantra has been about sort of trying to educate people that disabled people, we are normal. And, I treated people very differently myself, and I've learned a lesson of that.
This year marks the 30th anniversary of the charity, and you've got some big fundraising plans, haven't you? So do you want to explain those?
Yeah, 30th anniversary. We're doing everything this year about 30. So we've got people doing 30 marathons, we've got people doing 35Ks. I'm going to be doing 30 laps around the athletics track at Victoria Park. We've got people doing 30 litter picks. And what we're actually going to do this year, we're going to tot up all the mileage that people do. It could be swims, cycles, runs, walks. Tot up all the mileage, and we're going to try and go round the world at least once, if not twice. So all the mileage can be combined. And we're just asking people to be innovative and creative with their thoughts about 30. And it allows us as a charity, this is allowing us to be creative around our mantra. And our mantra here at the charity is, it's what you can do that counts in life. It's what you can do. So we're all thinking about things that people can do, because some people can't walk 30 meters, let alone 30 miles. So it's about finding other ways of wheeling that far, or using a Zimmer frame.
I've done my homework, and the Earth's circumference comes in at just under 25,000 miles. So that's the target in terms of a distance. And the money that's raised, how's that used?
All the money raised is going to be put towards a group of individuals that we feel have been disproportionately affected by COVID, and that's young disabled people. So we're going to provide job opportunities here at the charity for young disabled people, as we did for our 25th anniversary. And that year we were successful in raising £130,000. And all the youngsters that we actually got into jobs are still here. They still work with us. So it's really good. And we're aiming to do the same again. And we've got 2 youngsters actually already highlighted as actually job ready. And once we've raised the money sufficient to employ them, I'm really looking forward to them joining the team. We'll be very happy for whatever we can get. I mean, the times are hard for businesses, times are hard for individuals. We've got 2 young people. We'd like to get them into work. To get those 2 young people into work, we're probably talking circa £50,000 with all the add-ons, and because we always invest in them for training. We always want to try and get them into a sort of an apprenticeship type mode, and that would actually get them into sustainable jobs here for a couple of years at least. If we can get more than that, we'll get more youngsters. They have definitely been disproportionately affected by COVID because the job market is shrunk.
And if people want to fundraise for this, how can they get in touch?
We've got a Just Giving page. They can use our Just Giving page. They can just make donations themselves. Warrington Disability Partnership, our website is www.disabilitypartnership.org.uk, or they can call me here at the charity, 01925 240064. And if anybody out there is still considering Charity of the Year for this year, we'd be more than happy to work with you. And we also believe, John, that so it's giving back. We never just take off people. It's always about what we can give back to organisations. So if we can give them some training, or we can give them some support, or give them some advice about a new building design, if we can do that in exchange of them supporting us, we all win. Get in touch. We are absolutely will be grateful for any amounts of money. small or medium or large.
Fantastic. Dave, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and telling us all about the work that you're doing. It's making a huge difference, and I'm sure listeners to this podcast that perhaps haven't heard your story before will be inspired to make some changes. So thanks very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Yeah, thanks, John. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you for arranging this podcast. But finally, I'd just like to thank my wife, kids, friends, family members. It's been an amazing journey during the past 30 years, and everything that we've achieved and I've achieved personally, we couldn't have done it without a team. Our team of trustees here at the charity, our staff, our volunteers, it's really, really honouring to be part of that team, and long may it continue. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Yellow Spider Media Business Spotlight podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please get in touch at www.yellowspidermedia.com.